3 weeks passed since the Zetherians landed on Earth. Commander Vexthal stared at the casualty reports on his screen and felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Confusion. His forces were dying, slowly but steadily, not in big battles but in small attacks that came from nowhere. Yesterday, a patrol of 6 soldiers disappeared in Chicago. The day before, a supply convoy exploded in Germany. Last week, an entire command post in Australia went silent. His troops found it later, every Zetherian soldier dead. The humans who did it were long gone. How many? Vexthal asked his intelligence officer. 347 soldiers lost in the past week alone, the officer reported. Another 200 wounded. We can't find the attackers. They strike and vanish like ghosts. Vexthal slammed his fist on the console. They're not ghosts. They're primitives with crude weapons. Find them. Kill them. But finding the humans proved impossible. They knew their planet in ways the Zetherians never could. They used sewers, tunnels, abandoned buildings. They hid among the civilian population, and they were getting bolder. In the ruins of Chicago, Sergeant Danny Pierce crouched behind a collapsed wall. His team of 8 fighters waited with him. 3 were former Marines like Danny, 2 were National Guard soldiers. 3 were civilians who picked up weapons after losing their families. "Target coming," whispered Corporal Melissa Turner. She watched through a rifle scope as Zetherian soldiers marched down what used to be State Street. 6 aliens, heavily armed, checking buildings for resistance fighters. Danny made a hand signal. His team spread out, taking positions. They had learned hard lessons over the past 3 weeks. Never attack from one direction. Always have an escape route. Hit fast and run faster. The Zetherians walked past the ruined cars and broken storefronts. They looked confident, like they owned the city. That confidence would kill them. Danny triggered the first explosive. It was buried under rubble in the street. The blast threw 2 aliens into the air. Before their bodies hit the ground, Melissa's rifle cracked 3 times. Another Zetherian dropped. The surviving aliens raised their plasma weapons, but they didn't know where to shoot. Danny's team fired from 4 different positions. Within seconds, all 6 invaders were dead. "Move," Danny ordered. His team grabbed the alien weapons and ran. They disappeared into the ruins using paths they had scouted days earlier. By the time Zetherian reinforcements arrived, the ambush site was empty except for bodies. This scene played out across Earth dozens of times each day. The humans called it guerrilla warfare. The Zetherians called it cowardice, but the names didn't matter. What mattered was that the occupation forces were dying. At the Rocky Mountain facility, Dr. Lisa Grant made a breakthrough. She had been studying captured alien weapons and armor for weeks. Now she understood how they worked. Their shields operate on a specific frequency, Lisa explained to Colonel Jake Morrison. She pointed at diagrams on her computer screen. If we tune our weapons to match that frequency, we can disrupt the shields. Not completely, but enough to make them vulnerable. Can we make it work with regular bullets? Jake asked. Yes, Lisa said. We need to modify our ammunition slightly. Add a special coating that resonates at the right frequency. It's not perfect, but it will help. How fast can we produce it? Jake demanded. We already started, Lisa smiled. We've made 10,000 rounds so far. Should have 100,000 by next week. Jake immediately sent encrypted messages to every resistance cell. The information spread through hidden networks. Radio broadcasts disguised as static. Messages hidden in seemingly innocent emails. Dead drops in ruins where fighters could find instructions. Within days, resistance attacks became more deadly. Human bullets that once bounced off Zetherian shields now penetrated. Alien casualties doubled, then tripled. Commander Vexthal called an emergency meeting with his officers. They gathered in the command center, a fortified building in former Washington, D.C. Everyone looked worried. The humans have adapted, said the military commander. Their weapons are more effective now. Our shields don't provide adequate protection anymore. How is that possible? Vexthal demanded. They're primitives. Primitives who learn quickly, the intelligence officer said. We underestimated them. They study our technology. They find weaknesses. They share information faster than we can counter it. Then we escalate, Vexthal decided. We make them fear us. We show them what happens to those who resist. The order went out that afternoon. The Zetherians would make an example. They chose Denver, Colorado. 20,000 human prisoners lived there in camps under alien supervision. Vexthal ordered them all executed. The intelligence reached Colonel Jake Morrison 3 hours before the massacre was scheduled. He immediately called President Helen Carter, who was hidden in a secret bunker network. "We can't save them all," Helen said. Her voice was strained, tired. "But maybe we can save some." "I have an idea," Jake replied. "But it's risky. We'll need every resistance fighter within 100 miles. "Do it," Helen ordered, "and make those aliens pay for every human life." What followed became legendary among the resistance. Every fighter in Colorado converged on Denver. They hit the Zetherians from every direction at once. Explosives destroyed checkpoints. Snipers picked off guards. Diversionary attacks drew alien forces away from the prison camps. While the Zetherians fought scattered battles across the city, civilian volunteers moved through underground tunnels. Old subway systems, storm drains, and mining tunnels that the aliens didn't know existed. They smuggled prisoners out in small groups, guiding them to safe houses in the mountains. The operation lasted 6 hours. It was chaos, brutal and desperate. The Zetherians still managed to kill 15,000 prisoners, but 5,000 escaped, and the resistance killed over 200 alien soldiers. That night, something remarkable happened. Hidden transmitters across Earth activated simultaneously. They overrode Zetherian broadcasts and projected a single image on every working screen. President Helen Carter's face appeared. She looked directly at the camera, her expression hard as steel. "They think they've beaten us," Helen said calmly. "They think we'll break. They don't understand humans. We've survived ice ages and plagues. We've lived through world wars. We've walked on the moon and split the atom. You think some lizards from space scare us?" She paused, letting the words sink in. "Every day you're on our planet, we learn more about you. We study your technology. We find your weaknesses. We get stronger while you get weaker. And soon, very soon, we're going to teach you what humanity does to invaders. We're going to send you back to your empire in pieces. We're going to make you regret the day you came to Earth." The broadcast ended as suddenly as it began. Zetherian technicians traced the signal to dozens of transmitters scattered across the planet. By the time they reached any of them, the equipment was already destroyed. Commander Vexthal watched the recording 3 times. Each time he felt the same cold sensation in his chest. The human president wasn't making empty threats. She believed every word. More importantly, the humans watching believed it too. "How many resistance fighters do we estimate?" Vexthal asked. "Unknown," the intelligence officer admitted. "They blend with civilians. They have no uniforms, no clear organization. Could be thousands. Could be millions. Every human is potentially an enemy." Vexthal stood and walked to the window. Outside, he could see human workers being marched to processing centers. They moved slowly, heads down, looking defeated. But now he wondered if that was real or just an act. "Increase patrols," Vexthal ordered. "Double the guards at all installations. Execute any human found with weapons." "That might make things worse," his military commander warned. "The more brutal we are, the more they resist." "Then what do you suggest?" Vexthal snapped. The commander had no answer. Nobody did. The Zetherian Empire had conquered 47 worlds using fear and superior technology. But Earth was different. The humans refused to stay conquered. In Chicago, Sergeant Danny Pierce led his team back to their hidden base. It was a subway tunnel the aliens hadn't found yet. They had beds, supplies, and weapons cached throughout the tunnel system. "Good work today," Danny told his fighters. "We got 6 of them without losing anyone." Melissa Turner cleaned her rifle, checking every part carefully. "They're getting scared. You can see it in how they move. They're jumpy, nervous." "Good," Danny said. "Scared enemies make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, we kill them." A young fighter named Kevin Hayes spoke up. He was only 19, barely old enough to drink before the invasion. "You really think we can win?" Danny looked at the kid. Kevin had lost his entire family in the first bombardment. Now he fought because he had nothing left to lose. "Yeah," Danny said. "I think we can win. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but eventually. Because we're fighting for our home. They're just fighting because someone ordered them to. That makes all the difference." Across Earth, similar conversations happened in hundreds of hidden bases. Resistance fighters shared supplies, information, and hope. The Zetherians had technology, but humans had something stronger. They had a reason to fight. By the 3rd month of occupation, Commander Vexthal knew the truth he didn't want to admit. The Zetherian Empire was losing. Not in the way they usually lost battles, with ships destroyed and armies defeated. They were being bled to death by an enemy that refused to fight fair. Every morning brought new casualty reports. 3 soldiers killed in an ambush here. 5 more disappeared there. A supply depot blown up. A communications tower destroyed. The humans attacked constantly, from everywhere and nowhere. We've lost over 1,000 soldiers in the past month, his intelligence officer reported during the morning briefing. Our supply lines are disrupted. Morale is dropping. The troops are scared. Scared? Vextal repeated. Our soldiers are scared of primitives. The humans don't fight like any enemy we've faced, the officer explained. They hide bombs in dead bodies. They poison our food supplies. They use children to gather intelligence. They attack at night when we sleep. There are no rules, no honor. Just killing. Vextal wanted to argue, but he couldn't. The officer was right. These humans fought in ways the Zetherian military didn't understand, ways that felt wrong, dishonorable, but effective. We need reinforcements, Vextal decided. Contact the homeworld. Request 3 more fleets. In the Appalachian Mountains, inside a bunker that used to be a coal mine, Dr. Lisa Grant worked on humanity's most dangerous weapon. It wasn't a bomb or a gun. It was a computer virus. Zetherian technology is highly integrated, Lisa explained to Colonel Jake Morrison. They stood in a laboratory filled with captured alien computers and communications equipment. Everything connects to everything else. Their ships, weapons, sensors all run on networked systems. So if we can hack one system, we can reach others, Jake asked. Exactly, Lisa nodded. They never imagined a species primitive enough to use cyber warfare. Their security is advanced against other aliens, but surprisingly weak against our methods. She pulled up code on a screen. It looked like gibberish to Jake, but Lisa smiled at it like a mother looking at her child. This virus will spread through their entire network, Lisa continued. It will shut down shields, lock up weapons, crash communications. For a few hours, maybe more, their technology will be useless. How do we deliver it? Jake asked. That was when Nicole Brooks stepped forward. She was a software engineer from Seattle, 34 years old with dark hair and cold eyes. Her husband and 2 children had died when the Zetherians destroyed Seattle in the first week of the invasion. I'll deliver it, Nicole said quietly. I've been working with our intelligence people. We've created a false identity for me as a collaborator. The aliens think I'm selling out other resistance members for money and safety. That's incredibly dangerous, Jake said. If they suspect anything, they'll kill you. Nicole smiled, but there was no humor in it. My family is dead, Colonel. Everyone I loved is gone. Walking into that alien command center and crashing their systems, that's the best use of my life I can think of. 2 weeks later, Nicole Brooks entered the Zetherian command complex in former Washington, D.C. She carried a tablet computer loaded with fake intelligence about resistance positions. The aliens, desperate for any advantage, brought her directly to their operations center. Zetherian officers questioned her for an hour. She gave them detailed information about supposed rebel bases, mixing truth with lies. The aliens checked her information against their own data. It matched well enough to seem genuine. This is very useful, said the Zetherian intelligence commander. But we need more detail. Can you show us on our maps? Of course, Nicole said. She pulled out her tablet. May I connect to your system? It will be easier to transfer the map data directly. The alien saw no danger. It was just a primitive human tablet. They gave her access to a terminal. Nicole plugged in her device and began transferring files. The virus uploaded in seconds, hidden inside the map data. There, Nicole said, stepping back. Everything you need is in your system now. The virus didn't activate immediately. It waited, spreading through the Zetherian network like a cancer. From the command center, it jumped to communication satellites. From there to orbital platforms. From platforms to ships. By the time Zetherian technicians noticed unusual activity, it was too late. The virus activated at midnight Earth time. Across the planet and in orbit, Zetherian technology crashed simultaneously. Shield generators went offline. Weapon systems locked up. Communications went dark. The massive orbital platforms that controlled troop movements went silent. For 6 precious hours, the Zetherian military was blind and defenseless. Humanity struck with everything they had saved. Hidden missile batteries fired at orbital ships. Without shields, the alien vessels were vulnerable. 3 capital ships died in nuclear fire. 2 more were crippled and fell toward Earth, burning up in the atmosphere. On the ground, resistance cells stormed alien outposts. Electromagnetic pulse bombs knocked out Zetherian drones. Fuel depots exploded, supply warehouses burned. It was coordinated chaos, planned for weeks, executed in hours. In Chicago, Sergeant Danny Pierce led 200 fighters in an assault on the main alien headquarters. They came from the sewers, from rooftops, from hidden tunnels. Without shields and communication, the Zetherian defenders were overwhelmed. "Keep moving," Danny shouted as his team cleared rooms. Plasma rifles taken from dead aliens cut through doors and walls. Don't give them time to organize. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the Chicago command post was a smoking ruin. Over 300 Zetherian soldiers were dead. The humans lost 47 fighters, but they considered it a victory. Similar attacks happened in 70 cities worldwide. By dawn, the Zetherian occupation forces had been cut in half. Commander Vexthal stood in the chaos of his own command center, watching his empire crumble. Technicians worked frantically to purge the virus from their systems. It took 6 hours to restore basic functionality. By then the damage was done. "Casualty report," Vexthal demanded. The numbers were devastating. 8 capital ships destroyed or disabled. 40% of ground forces dead or missing. 70% of their equipment damaged or destroyed. Orbital platforms barely functional. Supply lines completely disrupted. "How did this happen?" Vexthal whispered. "The human woman," the intelligence officer said. "The one who came here 2 weeks ago with information. She uploaded a virus into our systems. We're searching for her now." They found Nicole Brooks still inside the command center. She had been hiding in a storage room, waiting. When Zetherian guards tried to arrest her, she triggered the explosive vest under her jacket. The blast killed Nicole and 17 aliens. It also destroyed the main server room, ensuring the Zetherians couldn't quickly repair their systems. President Helen Carter received word of Nicole's death in her hidden bunker. She sat quietly for a moment, thinking about the sacrifice. One woman had crippled an entire invasion force. "Authorize full offensive operations," Helen ordered Captain Ryan Hughes. "Every unit, every weapon we have. Hit them everywhere at once. Don't give them time to recover." The message went out through secure channels. Across Earth, every resistance fighter received the same order. "Attack. Attack now. Attack without stopping." Colonel Jake Morrison coordinated the assault from his Rocky Mountain base. Screens showed battles happening worldwide. Some humans were winning. Some were dying, but all of them were fighting. "They're retreating in some sectors," Lieutenant Amy Collins reported. "European forces report the aliens are pulling back to fortified positions." "Don't let them regroup," Jake ordered. "Keep the pressure on. If they're running, chase them." In orbit, human forces achieved something impossible. Using captured Zetherian shuttles and equipment, a team of former astronauts and pilots launched a raid on one of the remaining orbital platforms. Lieutenant Amy Collins found herself leading that raid. She had learned to pilot alien craft by studying captured manuals and practicing in simulators. Now she flew for real with 15 other humans in stolen ships. "Remember?" Jake's voice crackled over the radio. "That platform controls half their remaining fleet. Take it out and they're blind." The space battle was brutal and short. Zetherian defenders, still recovering from the virus attack, couldn't mount effective resistance. Amy's team fought through the docking bay and into the station interior. Without their advanced shields and weapons, the aliens were just soldiers with guns. And humans knew how to fight soldiers with guns. The resistance fighters cleared the platform room by room. 2 hours later, Amy stood in the command center and triggered the self-destruct sequence. "Everyone out," Amy ordered. "This place is going to blow in 5 minutes." Her team made it to their ships with seconds to spare. The orbital platform exploded, taking 2 Zetherian cruisers that were docked with it. Amy watched the fireball from her cockpit and felt grim satisfaction. "That's for Seattle," she whispered, thinking of Nicole Brooks. "That's for everyone we lost." Commander Vexthal watched the destruction from his crippled flagship. The platform had been critical to their operations. Without it, coordinating the remaining forces would be nearly impossible. "Contact the homeworld," Vexthal ordered. "Tell them we need immediate reinforcement. Tell them if we don't get help soon, Earth will be lost." But even as he sent the message, Vexthal knew the truth. Earth was already lost. The Zetherian war fleet appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. 40 massive ships, each the size of a small city, hung in space like metal predators. Inside the flagship Dominator, Commander Vexthal watched the blue planet below with satisfaction. This would be conquest number 48 for the Zetherian Empire. Vexthal had studied the reports about Earth. The humans had primitive nuclear weapons and basic rockets. Their military technology was hundreds of years behind Zetherian standards. This invasion would be quick and easy. Maybe it would take a week, perhaps 2 at most. Then Earth would join the other conquered worlds under Zetherian rule. Begin the attack, Vexthal ordered his crew. The first bombardment started at dawn. Massive projectiles fell from the sky like meteors, striking major cities across the planet. New York's skyline collapsed in seconds. London burned. Tokyo disappeared under clouds of dust and fire. Moscow's ancient buildings crumbled to rubble. The kinetic strikes hit with the force of nuclear weapons, but without the radiation. Millions of humans died in the first hour. At Peterson Space Force Base in Colorado, Colonel Jake Morrison stood in the command center, watching screens filled with destruction. His hands gripped the edge of the table so hard his knuckles turned white. The casualty numbers kept climbing. 3 million dead. 5 million. 10 million. The numbers became meaningless after a while. "Sir, we're getting reports from all over the world," Lieutenant Amy Collins said. Her voice shook slightly. "Every major military installation has been hit. Naval fleets destroyed. Air Force bases gone. They're targeting our ability to fight back." Jake nodded slowly. He had served in the military for 23 years. He had seen combat in 3 different wars, but nothing had prepared him for this. Nothing prepared anyone for aliens from space trying to wipe out humanity. "What about our defense systems?" Jake asked. "Useless," replied Captain Ryan Hughes, who monitored their weapon systems. "Our missiles can't reach their ships. When we do get close, their shields stop everything. It's like throwing rocks at a tank." A new message appeared on the main screen. It was in perfect English, translated by the alien computers. The message was simple and brutal. "Humans of Earth, you have 24 hours to surrender. All military forces must lay down their weapons. All governments must submit to Zetherian authority. If you refuse, we will destroy your entire species. You cannot win. You cannot hide. Surrender or die." The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the message. 24 hours to give up everything. 24 hours to become slaves or corpses. "Get me the president," Jake said quietly. Deep beneath Washington, D.C., in a bunker built to survive nuclear war, President Helen Carter sat at a conference table. Her cabinet surrounded her. Secretary of Defense Paul Henderson, Secretary of State Margaret Foster, and her Chief Science Advisor Dr. Lisa Grant. All of them looked exhausted and scared. "Options?" Helen asked simply. Paul Henderson pulled up tactical displays. "We have almost nothing, Madam President. Our conventional weapons can't touch their ships. Nuclear missiles might work, but we'd have to get them through their shields first. Early tests suggest that's impossible, so we just give up." Helen's voice was hard, angry. "We surrender to these things and hope they're merciful. If we fight, they'll kill everyone," Margaret said. "Maybe surrender gives us time. Time to negotiate, time to figure something out." Dr. Lisa Grant shook her head. "They've conquered 47 other worlds. I've been analyzing their broadcast signals, their technology signatures. Every species they defeated either surrendered immediately or got wiped out. There's no negotiation. There's only submission or extinction. Then what do you suggest?" Helen demanded. Lisa leaned forward. "We make them think we're surrendering. We buy time. But secretly we fight, we resist. We find their weaknesses and exploit them." "That's suicide," Paul said. "They'll discover our deception and kill us all." "They're going to kill us anyway," Lisa replied. "At least this way we go down fighting. And maybe, just maybe, we find a way to actually hurt them." Helen looked around the table. She saw fear in every face. But she also saw determination. These were people who had spent their lives serving their country. They wouldn't quit easily. "Make it happen," Helen ordered. "Prepare a surrender message. But get word to every military commander, every resistance group, every person willing to fight. Tell them to hide, to prepare, to wait for the signal. We're going to show these aliens what happens when you mess with humans." The surrender broadcast went out 12 hours later. President Helen Carter appeared on screens worldwide, her face grave and defeated. She announced that Earth would submit to Zetherian authority to prevent further loss of life. Military forces were ordered to stand down. Governments agreed to work with the occupation forces. Commander Vexthal watched the broadcast with satisfaction. Another easy victory. The humans had folded quickly, just like his intelligence predicted. Now came the occupation phase. His troops would land, Establish control points and begin processing the human population. Send the landing forces, Vexthal commanded. Let's finish this. Zetherian dropships descended from orbit carrying thousands of soldiers. They landed in major cities, setting up checkpoints and command posts. The aliens were tall reptilian creatures with thick scales and cold yellow eyes. They carried plasma weapons that could burn through concrete and steel. At first, the occupation seemed to go smoothly. Humans lined up at processing centers, accepting identification chips and work assignments. Cities fell under alien control without resistance. Vexthal sent a message back to the Zetherian homeworld declaring complete victory, but in hidden bunkers scattered across Earth, a different story was unfolding. Colonel Jake Morrison stood in a massive underground facility carved into the Rocky Mountains. Around him, hundreds of people worked frantically. Scientists studied captured alien technology. Engineers built weapons. Soldiers trained for guerrilla warfare. Computer experts hacked into Zetherian communication networks. How long do we have? Jake asked Dr. Lisa Grant. Until they realize we're not actually beaten, Lisa replied. Maybe a week. Maybe less. The moment we strike back, they'll know the surrender was fake. Then we better make that first strike count, Jake said. Lieutenant Amy Collins approached with a tablet showing troop deployments. We've established contact with resistance cells in 40 countries. Everyone's ready. They're just waiting for orders. Jake looked at the map of Earth on the wall. Red dots marked Zetherian positions. Blue dots marked human resistance groups. There were far more blue dots than red ones. The aliens had superior technology, but humans had numbers, knowledge of their own planet, and something the Zetherians didn't understand. Humans had rage, pure burning anger at the invaders who destroyed their cities and killed their families. That rage would fuel what came next. Send the message, Jake ordered. All units are free to engage. Hit them fast, hit them hard, and disappear. Make them scared. Make them realize they didn't conquer Earth. They just made us angry. As the sun set on Earth's first day under occupation, the first resistance attacks began. Small at first, barely noticeable. A patrol that didn't report back. A supply convoy that vanished. A command post that exploded in the night. Commander Vexthal dismissed the early reports as random incidents. But deep down, a small doubt began to grow. The humans had surrendered too easily. They had given up too quickly. He pulled up files on the other species his empire had conquered. Most had fought desperately before surrendering. The humans barely fought at all. That wasn't normal. That wasn't right. In his quarters that night, Vexthal couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the human president's face during the surrender broadcast. She had looked defeated, yes, but there was something else in her eyes. Something that bothered him. It looked like hatred. Cold, calculating hatred. For the first time since arriving at Earth, Commander Vexthal felt a small flutter of concern. Maybe this conquest wouldn't be as easy as he thought. The reinforcements arrived 3 weeks after Commander Vexthal requested them. 3 more war fleets dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Earth. 50,000 fresh Zetherian soldiers, hundreds of ships, and enough firepower to glass the entire planet. Vexthal felt relief for the first time in months. Now they could crush this rebellion properly. Now they could show the humans what real military might look like. He should have been more careful. In her bunker laboratory, Dr. Lisa Grant had been busy since the virus attack. Her team had done more than just hack Zetherian computers. They had been listening to every communication the aliens sent. We've cracked their encryption completely, Lisa told President Helen Carter during a video conference. We can hear everything they say to each other. Every order, every report, every strategic discussion. Can we use it against them? Helen asked. Lisa smiled coldly. Already doing it. Those reinforcement fleets. I've been feeding them false intelligence for weeks. They think our main bases are in Europe and Asia. They're planning massive assaults on locations that don't exist. What's really there? Helen asked. Automated weapon systems and enough explosives to level mountains, Lisa replied. When they land, we're going to make them regret coming to Earth. The trap was perfect in its simplicity. Using captured Zetherian communication equipment, Lisa's team sent fake reports about human strongholds. The aliens believed they had discovered major resistance bases that needed to be eliminated. The Zetherian military committed everything to the assault. Thousands of soldiers loaded onto dropships. The plan was to hit 6 supposed bases simultaneously, overwhelming the humans with superior numbers. The dropships descended on empty buildings in Germany. The moment they landed, automated machine guns opened fire from hidden positions. Then the explosives detonated. The entire base was a massive bomb disguised as a military installation. 2,000 Zetherian soldiers died before they realized they'd been tricked. Similar traps in China, Russia, Brazil, India, and Australia killed thousands more. It was a massacre. While the aliens reeled from the devastating losses, the real resistance hit their exposed positions. With so many troops committed to the fake assaults, Zetherian command posts were vulnerable. Resistance cells struck everywhere at once. In Chicago, Sergeant Danny Pierce led his team into the rebuilt alien headquarters. They wore captured Zetherian armor and carried alien weapons. The guards at the entrance never suspected until it was too late. "Go, go, go," Danny shouted as his team stormed inside. They moved through the building like professionals, clearing rooms and eliminating defenders. The whole operation took 20 minutes. By the time it was over, the Chicago command was theirs. Danny's team grabbed computers, weapons, supplies, anything useful. Then they planted charges and evacuated. The building exploded as they drove away in stolen alien vehicles. Similar raids happened in 70 cities worldwide. The Zetherians lost more equipment in one day than they had in the previous 3 months. But humanity wasn't done. Not even close. Colonel Jake Morrison coordinated the most audacious operation of the entire war. His intelligence teams had identified the locations of every Zetherian orbital platform. Now he planned to destroy them all at once. "It's insane," Lieutenant Amy Collins said when Jake explained the plan. "We're going to hijack alien shuttles, fly them into orbit, and assault military space stations?" "That's exactly what we're doing," Jake confirmed. The problem was simple. Humanity needed to eliminate the orbital platforms or the war would never end. The aliens could just bombard Earth from space whenever they wanted. But humans had no spacecraft capable of reaching the platforms, so they would steal Zetherian ships and use them instead. The plan required incredible coordination. Resistance teams simultaneously struck at every alien spaceport on Earth. They killed guards, hijacked shuttles, and flew away before reinforcements could respond. Lieutenant Amy Collins found herself piloting a Zetherian assault craft for the second time. Behind her flew 30 more stolen ships, each crewed by humans who had spent months studying captured alien manuals. "This is crazy," said her co-pilot, a former Air Force pilot named Greg Palmer. "We're flying alien ships we barely understand to attack a space station defended by professional soldiers." "Welcome to the Resistance," Amy replied. "We do the impossible every day." The space battle began badly. Zetherian defenders had superior numbers and better training. Human pilots, flying unfamiliar craft with imperfect understanding of the controls, took heavy losses immediately. "We're not going to make it," someone shouted over the radio. "Then we ram them," Amy snarled back. "We came here to destroy those platforms. We're not leaving until they're gone or we're dead." Her ship shook as plasma fire hit the shields. Warning lights flashed across the control panel. Amy ignored them and kept flying toward the nearest platform. Another human ship exploded off her left side. Then another. The casualties were horrific, but the humans kept coming, kept fighting, kept pushing forward with desperate determination. Amy's shields collapsed. Her hull took direct hits. Atmosphere vented from a dozen breaches. The ship was dying, but she was close now, so close to the platform. "Everybody hang on," Amy said. She aimed directly at the platform's main reactor and pushed the engines to maximum. At the last second, Amy and her co-pilot ejected in an escape pod. Their ship, traveling at full speed, crashed into the orbital platform. The explosion lit up space like a second sun. When the light faded, the weapon platform was gone. So were 15 human pilots who gave their lives to destroy it. But across Earth's orbit, 5 more platforms were destroyed in similar attacks. The orbital bombardment threat was eliminated. Earth's skies were clear for the first time since the invasion began. Commander Vexthal stared at the tactical display in his command center. Half his fleet destroyed, orbital platforms gone, ground forces crippled, supply lines cut. The humans were winning. How was this possible? The Zetherian Empire had conquered 47 worlds. They had crushed species far more advanced than humans. How could primitives with chemical rockets and nuclear weapons defeat them? A communication arrived from the Zetherian homeworld. Vexthal opened it with shaking hands. He knew what it would say before reading the words. "Commander Vexthal, the High Council has reviewed the situation on Earth. Our verdict is unanimous. You are ordered to evacuate all forces immediately. Extract all personnel and equipment within 48 hours. After that, Earth is declared a quarantine zone. No Zetherian ship will return to that system. But our honor, Vexthal whispered. Our reputation. The council leader's face on the screen was cold and hard. Your reputation is already destroyed. You were defeated by primitives. Every species in the Empire knows it. Continuing this disaster only makes it worse. Leave now, Commander. That's an order. The evacuation order went out immediately. Across Earth, Zetherian forces abandoned their positions and rushed toward spaceports. They left equipment behind, destroyed bases to prevent humans from using them, and fled as fast as possible. But the humans weren't letting them leave peacefully. Sergeant Danny Pierce and his team harassed retreating columns. They attacked from rooftops and sewers, killing aliens and stealing weapons. Every Zetherian who made it to a ship was one less that Danny could kill. Keep the pressure on, Danny ordered. Make them run. Make them scared. Let them take that fear back to their empire. Colonel Jake Morrison coordinated artillery strikes on alien landing zones. Missiles fired from hidden positions destroyed several dropships before they could launch. The sky above Earth burned with the wreckage of alien vessels trying to escape. Dr. Lisa Grant activated one final surprise. The electromagnetic pulse satellites humanity had secretly launched during the occupation. As Zetherian ships climbed toward orbit, the satellites fired. Electromagnetic pulses disabled hundreds of alien systems. Ships without power tumbled back toward Earth. Some burned up in the atmosphere. Others crashed in oceans and deserts. The surviving Zetherians watched in horror as their escape turned into a massacre. That's for Seattle, Lisa whispered, thinking of Nicole Brooks and all the others who had died. That's for everyone we lost. Commander Vexthal made it to orbit aboard one of the few surviving ships. He watched Earth shrink behind him. That blue-green planet that had destroyed his career and shattered his empire's invincibility. On the bridge, a junior officer asked the question everyone was thinking. What happened, Commander? How did we lose to them? Vexthal thought about the question for a long time. He thought about the humans' refusal to surrender, their willingness to sacrifice everything, their ability to turn every weakness into a weapon. He thought about how they adapted and learned and never stopped fighting. We gave them an enemy, Vexthal said finally, and humans are very, very good at killing their enemies. They don't fight with honor or follow rules. They fight to win, no matter the cost. We should have studied them more carefully before invading. Will they come after us? The officer asked nervously. Vexthal looked at Earth one last time before the ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. Eventually. Once they repair their world and build proper spacecraft. When that day comes, I pity whoever they decide to fight. The humans are the most dangerous species I've ever encountered. President Helen Carter stood before the cameras in what used to be the White House Rose Garden. Behind her, the building was mostly rubble, but the cameras still worked and the world was watching. My fellow humans, Helen began. Her voice was tired but strong. The Zetherians are gone. They came to conquer us. They thought we would surrender easily. They were wrong. Around the world, people watched on whatever screen still worked. In Chicago, Sergeant Danny Pierce watched with his surviving team members. In the Rocky Mountains, Colonel Jake Morrison stood with Dr. Lisa Grant. In orbit, Lieutenant Amy Collins watched from a captured Zetherian ship that would soon bring her home. We paid a terrible price, Helen continued. 3 billion of our brothers and sisters are dead. Our cities are ruins. Our planet is scarred. But we are still here. We fought back. We refused to give up. And we won. She paused, looking directly at the camera. Let this be a message to anyone else watching from out there in space. Earth is humanity's home. We were born here. We evolved here. We built our civilizations here. And we will defend it with everything we have. Come for us if you dare. We'll be ready. The speech ended. Across Earth, humans began the long work of rebuilding. But they also prepared. Because now they knew the truth. They weren't alone in the universe. And not everyone out there was friendly. Dr. Lisa Grant stood in her laboratory surrounded by captured Zetherian technology. Computers, weapons, shield generators, faster-than-light communicators. Everything the aliens left behind was being studied, reverse-engineered, and improved. We can do this, Lisa told Colonel Jake Morrison during one of his visits. The Zetherian technology is advanced, but we understand the principles now. Give us 5 years and we'll have our own plasma weapons. 10 years and we'll have working shields. 20 years and we'll have faster-than-light ships and... That fast? Jake asked. Lisa smiled. Humans are good at learning from enemies. The Zetherians gave us a roadmap. We just have to follow it and make it better. In the ruins of cities worldwide, people worked to rebuild. They cleared rubble, planted crops, established communication networks. It was hard, exhausting work. But humans had rebuilt from disaster before. They would do it again. Sergeant Danny Pierce found himself leading reconstruction efforts in Chicago. His combat skills weren't needed anymore, so he used his organizational abilities instead. He coordinated work crews, distributed supplies, and helped families find shelter. One day, a young woman approached him. She looked familiar. After a moment, Danny recognized Corporal Melissa Turner, his best sniper during the war. I'm heading to the new military academy, Melissa said. They're training the next generation of soldiers, learning to use the captured alien technology. I wanted to say goodbye. Good luck, Danny said. Teach them well. Make sure they're ready if anyone else comes. Melissa nodded. We'll be ready. Nobody's ever catching us unprepared again. That became humanity's motto in the years that followed. Never unprepared. Never defenseless. Never again. The captured Zetherian technology revolutionized human civilization. Within 3 years, Earth had working fusion reactors based on alien designs. Power was abundant and clean. Cities rose from the ruins faster than anyone expected. Within 5 years, human soldiers carried plasma rifles. Tanks had energy shields. Aircraft flew using anti-gravity technology reverse-engineered from Zetherian craft. Within 10 years, the first human-built starship launched from orbit. It was crude compared to alien vessels, but it worked. The ship was named Defiance, a reminder of Earth's victory. Lieutenant Amy Collins commanded Defiance on its maiden voyage. She was a captain now, leading a crew of 300 on a journey to Mars and back. The trip took 3 weeks instead of months. Faster-than-light travel was still beyond human capabilities, but they were getting closer. How does it feel? Asked her second-in-command, Greg Palmer, the pilot who had flown with her during the orbital battle. Like coming home, Amy replied, watching Earth shrink behind them. We belong up here now. This is our galaxy too. Within 20 years, human colonies existed throughout the solar system. Mars had a permanent settlement of 10,000 people. Europa's oceans were being explored. Titan's atmosphere was being studied. Humanity spread across their solar system like water filling a container. And they built weapons. Lots of weapons. Colonel Jake Morrison, now a general, oversaw the construction of orbital defense platforms. These weren't like the Zetherian stations. These were designed by humans, built by humans, and operated by humans. Each platform carried enough firepower to destroy a fleet. We're building an empire, President Helen Carter said during one inspection tour. She was older now, gray-haired and tired, but she remained in office, determined to see humanity secure before retiring. We're building a defense, Jake corrected. Nobody's invading Earth again. And if we decide to visit our neighbors? Helen asked. Jake smiled grimly. Then we visit as friends, or as enemies who remember what it's like being invaded. We won't do to others what the Zetherians did to us. But not everyone agreed. Some humans wanted revenge. They wanted to find the Zetherian Empire and destroy it. Others wanted to liberate the species still under alien control. Debates raged about humanity's role in the galaxy. Dr. Lisa Grant, now the director of Earth's Advanced Research Division, argued for caution. We're not ready for galactic politics. We barely understand what's out there. We need to learn more before making big moves. Her advice was largely followed. Human ships explored nearby star systems carefully and quietly. They observed but didn't interfere. They learned but didn't conquer. What they discovered was surprising. The Zetherian Empire was collapsing. Subject species, inspired by Earth's successful resistance, were rebelling. Without the illusion of invincibility, the Empire couldn't maintain control. We did this, Helen said. Watching reports of alien rebellions across dozens of worlds, our victory showed them it was possible to fight back. Should we help them? Jake asked. Eventually, Helen decided. When we're strong enough. When we can make a difference. For now, we watch and we learn. Museums were built to honor the fallen. Memorials commemorated the resistance. Children learned about the invasion in schools, about the day aliens came to Earth and humanity showed them the cost of that mistake. The names were remembered. Nicole Brooks, who sacrificed herself to plant the virus. The 15 pilots who died destroying the orbital platforms, the thousands of resistance fighters who harassed the occupation forces, the billions of civilians who endured and survived. One memorial in Washington, D.C. became particularly famous. It was a simple black wall with names engraved in alphabetical order, 3 billion names. Every person who died during the invasion. Visitors could touch the wall and it would light up, showing photos and stories of whoever they touched. People came from around the world to visit the wall, to remember, to grieve, to promise that the deaths weren't in vain. Sergeant Danny Pierce visited the wall every year on the anniversary of the invasion. He would find the names of his team members who didn't survive. He would remember their faces, their jokes, their courage. "We won," Danny would whisper to the wall. "We actually won. You'd be proud of what we built. We're stronger now. Nobody's going to catch us sleeping again." 30 years after the invasion, humanity made first contact with another species. Not the Zetherians, but a peaceful race called the Valorians. They were traders and explorers, cautious and friendly. "We heard about Earth," the Valorian ambassador said during first contact. "Everyone in the galaxy heard. The humans who defeated the Zetherian Empire, the species that refused to be conquered. We defended our home," Captain Amy Collins replied. She was now Admiral of Earth's Defense Fleet, commanding 50 warships. "We'll do it again if necessary." "We don't doubt it," the ambassador said. "That's why we come in peace. The galaxy needs more species like humans. Species that fight for freedom. Species that refuse to submit to tyrants." Trade began between Earth and the Valorians. Information was exchanged. Humanity learned about galactic politics, about the hundreds of species and empires that existed in the Milky Way. They learned they were small fish in a very large ocean, but they also learned their reputation preceded them. The species that beat the Zetherians, the species that fought dirty and won. Other races treated humans with respect mixed with caution. Nobody wanted to be on the receiving end of human warfare. "Good," Helen said during a cabinet meeting in her final year as president. "Let them be cautious. Let them remember what happened to the Zetherians. It will keep us safe while we grow stronger." 50 years after the invasion, the Zetherian Empire finally collapsed completely. Subject species threw off their chains and formed their own governments. The former imperial capital became a museum, a warning about the dangers of arrogance and conquest. Former Commander Vexthal, old and broken, lived in exile on a remote colony world. Sometimes journalists found him and asked about Earth. "I warned them," Vexthal would say. "I told the High Council that humans were different, that they wouldn't stop fighting. Nobody listened. And now our empire is dust. Do you regret the invasion?" a reporter once asked. Vexthal looked toward the sky, toward where Earth existed somewhere in the vast darkness of space. "Every day," he whispered. "Every single day.